Hello and welcome back to ASUS Tech Tips. Daniel here, and we are going to start building into the Node202 case. So I did do a little bit of playing around and checking this case out and found a few little hiccups, so I decided that I wanted to redo. So think of this more as a version 1.2. And I'm going to show you along the way what you guys can do to avoid these little annoying bumps when you're building into your Node202 case. So here she is. Really lovely case by Fractal Design, and it's nice and small. It is potentially possible to fit this into a backpack, so you could potentially have a transportational powerful computer, a powerful computer that is capable of being transported about. So let's start removing this here, putting it carefully over there. So first things first, you are going to need to remove the back completely, and by the back I mean this piece here. The problem is you need to move this, and this is the support for the graphics card. So the graphics card, which fits in this section here, it basically rests on this piece. So if you think of the case positioning, here we have that piece that I was telling you about, and it basically is the support. You've got a good view of it there. That's the support, and you can see that it's angled. And the reason why it is angled is because the side of the GTX here is slanted, and it fits really nicely when you put the card into the case and you rest it on top of that piece there. Now when you connect this in like so, you can see that this piece here is way back. There's loads of space. I don't know if you can actually see that clearly. I'm just going to apologize in advance. I can't seem to get an angle where you can. Yeah, maybe there. So you can see here, I can like get my whole hand in there. There's loads of space. This here needs to definitely move forward. And as you can see, it is on a... that should improve things a little bit. So yeah, that's much better. So here you can see we have the slider, so that we can slide this forward and back. But this is quite tight. It doesn't slide forward so easily. And even though it's very difficult for me to show you, inside, yeah, there's a good angle. Alright, so right there, you can see these two pieces here. These are the screws, and the screws are from underneath. They're from underneath going in. So the only way you can loosen that is by removing the back. So we've established that the back must come off. To remove the back, you must basically just take out these little clips here. So you can see, I know it's a bit difficult to see, but they are normal little case clips. They're like a half triangle, if you were to say, and basically the triangle piece clips, and you need to basically push them back so that the case can slide off. And you've got one here, here, here. Then we have one up. I know it's black and it's difficult to see, but just trust me on this. There's one here, but this one you can only access from here, from that little piece. Then we have another tree on the other side. We have 1, 2, yes, we have two over here, and you think to yourself, that's fairly easy. But it's not fairly easy, because when you try and clip all of these out, they don't come out, because the I/O panel holds the back piece in place. And the only way to actually get the whole back piece off is to remove completely the I/O panel. So my advice to you all before you begin is to remove all the cables and everything out of the case. So let's go ahead and do that now. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to move this light around this side so that you can see a little bit better, I think. Okay, so that is all of our cables removed, and now pulling these little clippy pieces out should make removing the case from the frame very easy. You will need to use a little bit of force if this is your first time doing this. Try not to break the case if you can, but do not be shy. You'll feel them pop out. 5, 6, and 7. There we go. Back piece off. There she is. Serial number. And let's just put that out of the way now. Now I'm going to take the back piece off, and I'm going to leave the back piece off until the build is done. And the reason why, which brings me to annoying point number 2, which I ran into. Let's just remove these magnetic filters. Is it's so much easier to start the build when you can access the back. I was kind of hoping that I wouldn't need to remove the entire thing, because I mean I'm really breaking this case down to its bare minimum. Normally with cases the back panel is already open and exposed, but with this one you really do need to take off that extra coverings, I don't know, back panel for that matter. And then the third thing which I found with my basically playing around and test all my research was that this case, as you noticed with the back piece and from what you saw at the very beginning, is very closed and very covered. There's not a lot of place for air to get out, and I was kind of hoping to get 2 120mm fans in here to really forcefully pull air into the case and have a positive pressure to blow out through all the holes. But I found that it's not very intelligently built, because this here obstructs fan number 2. So we've got the hole for 1, but we can't. It doesn't work because the graphics card holder is here. So you cannot put your second fan in. You're thinking, oh, well, maybe you could remove the support. And that's true. You could remove the support and have a potentially sagging card not really stably held inside the case for when you're transporting this small thing around, which could potentially damage the riser and splitter that you're going to be connecting it to. So I can forecast damage there if you do that. But you would be correct. If you do remove the support, you can use this here to get in your screw. But you've also got the problem of the power cord. And let me just give you an example of what I'm talking about. Let's just pop that in here. Put it back into its correct place. And now you see all this hard piece of plastic is kind of in the way. So you need to forcefully, and when this is screwed in, it's not easy to move. This is a thick, hard cable. So you need to forcefully push it back and around the fan, and that puts a lot of pressure on the two front screws holding this piece in. So that's one way of doing it, but then if you do that, you do not have enough cable to reach all the way around the two fans, coming around to the front and then going in and twisting in like this to the PSU. So your only option then is to reroute the power cable not to the far right hand side but over to the left side like this. And again, by doing that, a little bit of force, not as much as when you push it to the right. You can definitely do it this way, and this is the way that I'm going to do it without the fan installed, and move it around there like that, and then have it going through the cable management hole here. And let's experiment, let's learn, let's find out what we can do. Here are our two screws, and again let's just completely remove our graphics card support. I don't know if you can see that actually, but I did have the graphics card just resting in here for a while, and it is even slightly bent back just from the weight of the card, because you have to understand that this piece of metal here is very, very thin, and you can see it's bent back. So this is what you're going to be stuck with if you don't have the support in and you've got a fan. So let's just get our fan here now. There we are. Okay, so that's how she'll go. Our cables go through here. Our fans are tight together because of the holes. They don't leave a lot of room. Our graphics card slips in here like this. Exactly like that, and will be resting on the fans. And now, as we can see, this is a potential configuration. This could work because the protecting part of the fan here can be used as a rest. So the card isn't obstructing the actual fans. As you can see, they will still spin. So there is a possibility. However, by doing that, what is going to happen is when you tilt the case upwards, the card will be pulling from the extender and the expansion board. Sorry, it goes like this, which sits through here like that, and it's going to be pulling. Now, in saying that, that's not the end of the world. As you can see here, we have 3 screws, and those 3 screws do securely mount this PCB board to this hard piece here, which I'll show you later on. So there's going to be a pull, and the only thing that is holding the entire weight of this card will be the tightness of the connectors here going into this piece here, and 2 screws that are holding the front of the card in place, like so. Now you can see much better what I'm talking about. There's the graphics card's teeth going through the 2 supports. We have our 2 screws here holding in the graphics card, and now yeah, so that's what I was talking about. Do you see that movement, that little bit of movement? So your graphics card is going to be either sitting flat on the fans, which isn't so bad, okay, as long as you move the case slowly and carefully. That shouldn't be so bad. Or if you choose to tilt it upright, it is going to pull down a little tiny bit, but essentially it looks like it's going to stay still. Now just watch the card, okay? You see that? That jerking about and moving, that's what's going to happen to this card when it is in your backpack while you're on your way to your friend's house, when you are not using the support, which you cannot put in here, because if you do, you will lose 50% of your static incoming airflow. Yeah, there's just nothing that you can do about that. Absolutely nothing you can do about that. What I would have liked to have seen is maybe another smaller one of these, or something on the inside of the actual case itself. So for example, our I/O here is where it is, and if we were to flip that over, that would mean that this section here would be for the graphics card. Why did they not just do something like that? Just attach it. Attach it a little bit further up to the actual case itself. That way you would have your space for the fan. Let me just grab a fan. Here we go. We've got another fan lying about. So think of this as a fan, and then you would still have plenty of space without obstructing the fan for the support. Of course, the other way around, so that it fits into the graphics card. So there you go, Fractal Design. There's a new upgrade for your next model. When you're building the case, think about that. So without further ado, let's get the motherboard. Here she is, beautiful in all of her glory. Our I/O ports facing in the right direction. Just a bit loose. And it goes in like down, in and forward, like so. So down, in and forward. Perfect. And now I just need my motherboard screws. Got my magnetic screwdriver. I'm going to use my thumb to push forward. And boom, that's it. And now the other screws will just slip right in, easy as cake. One, two, three, and third one goes here. These little ITX boards only take 4 screws. There we go. Motherboard in. Sorted. Let us stick in our single fan, which has its nice little rubber ring. And let me first plan the cable management. So we need to take a look at our board, and we need to take a look where the fan can go, and instantly I can see there's a fan header here. Oh, you can't see that, sorry. Here. I'm going to just put my wire through here and connect it to the only other second fan header that I can find, because the first one is for the processor's cooler. So this goes here, like so. Try and get rid of any twists and curls. I'm just going to wrap that round a little bit so that I'm not wasting too much cable, and then I just want to play around with the best way to do this. So I think I might, yeah, Okay, so I might twist it around the other way instead. Perfect. And I just want to leave them a little bit loose, so I'm going to go back and back so I can slide it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the extension just a little loosely, like so. Okay, it might help if I took the sorry, this is the extension, this is the riser, my bad, I'm confusing things. I want to just gently put in the riser first, clip that in like that. Then, in order to secure the riser card, the riser card's middle screw, which is here, it's very difficult to do it because of the angle. So what you will need to do is you will need to pop off the CPU fan, and you can do that nice and easily just by going perfect. So that there is that done. Now I am going to stop and I shall return soon. Hello again, we're back, and now we are going to continue on with our build. Okay, that looks pretty good. cables are through here. They're not under too much stress by the looks of it. Let me see if I can get a little bit of an idea on the organization of them. Not too many cable tying options here, and I predict that our hard drive cage is going to have a very tight squeeze. So let us take a quick peek at that. Okay, moving on. So we left off where I was going to install the hard drive into the hard drive case. So this bad boy in here, so that we could better manage the cables from the cable management, because the hard drive case is going to slip in here. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, now the only thing I see here that's a little bit annoying is the USB 3 cable is very long, so I'm going to have a lot of excess cable with this that, to be honest with you, I don't really need. I suppose the benefit of not putting the second disk in is I can use the other hard drive bay space here to pack them in. So let's go ahead and do that now. So our USB 3 is going to slot in like this, and I do always recommend that you're a little careful putting the USB 3 in, because there's a lot of pins that can easily bend. So that's there like that, and now let's try and squeeze these in over the other side. Okay, so that there is a lot neater, and our excess cable is out of the way. Try and pay attention to these two pieces of the USB. These two pieces of the USB, basically these two USBs, where they're connected, because the fan does kind of push them up a little bit, and of course that's going to loosen them from the board. So if you can, try and push them down and keep them tight against the PCB, like so. Now I want to connect our HD audio, so I'm just going to take a quick look on the board to find out where that is. Okay, so identified. The HD audio needs to go directly into the sound card. I know this is a bit tricky to see, but the header for the connection is just here in this little slot. So let's try and cable manage that a bit. I'm going to run them around the USB 3. And we want to connect that in there. It's a little tricky to get in, but there we go. So that's connected in good. And as you can see, we still have quite a lot of excess cable, so I'm going to use that spare hard drive bay again just to try and tuck away that unnecessary cable length. There we are, beautiful. And that leaves lots of space for the power, for the graphics card and the power cables to also connect in. So here are our front panels, our front panel IOs. And again, I always recommend going to the manual for the front panel, because yeah, you can look at the board. It's a little tricky to see clearly how everything connects, and I do know in the manual you've got a much bigger picture with everything labeled out. So I'm just going to quickly take a peek here at that. So here, this is what I'm talking about. This little section here basically explains the connections for the front panel. And a nice little tip also, if you're able to see the color, although you can't with these, but if you're generally speaking able to see the color, brown is generally speaking the indicator for positive. So let's see, where is positive? Okay. And again, let us try and manage those cables a little bit better. You also need to think that you have to try and cable manage so that you've got enough space to actually reach with your cables for the power and the SATA cable for your hard drive. So I want to pull them through, tuck them in there like that, so we still have space. Super. Okay, and now let us get our SATA cable. So here's our little SATA cable, sorry. And I like the way that they've got straight heads rather than curved ones like that. It should make it a little easier. Alright, so we need to tuck this guy in at the side here. Because I really am out of space in the spare hard drive bay, I'm going to run that. Actually, let me do that. I can do that better. Let us do it this way. And I'm going to connect this one to the first SATA port here on the board. Clip. And since I know that I'm going to have so much space over here, because this is where our power cable is going to run along, I'm going to just tuck that in there. Whoop, sorry. Tuck that in there. And we can better manage that later because we have cable ties along here. So that's a good point. Let's do the power cable next. Now, Okay, and I think now it's a good time for us to start putting in our power supply. So the power supply goes face down, and it's also a bit like the hard drive bay. It goes down and slides over. So down and over, like that. And we need to secure it on the side, because this is where the hole is to hold the whole thing in place. Oh, wrong screw. This is the one that we need. Super. There. It's a good bit more secure. And now our power cable must go through here, and it connects like so. And since this area is going to be covered here, we can use this space here to hold in the cable like that. So it's not obstructing too much air, and it also means that we have a little bit more space to work with the excess cable from here. Well, see, our USB 3 is after popping out. Let's try and get that back in again. There we are, popped in good. Now, can we do that better is the question. I think because a lot of the tension of the cables is going over, we might be able to just slide it all underneath. And connecting that in there again. Like so. Okay, so now you can see, you can almost see our HD audio is in, and the purpose of this now was to basically get this power cable here nice and low. You see it's nice and low here, which is pretty cool. It's running all the way along through here, it's coming out, and now we're going to tuck it around this corner like so. So it will sit pretty much like that. Cool, so let's get all of our cables back in. Now we've got to do, where did the other end of the SATA go? Here, and that needs to squeeze down here and into the SSD. Click, cool. So that's clicked in, and that can go down there as well with the power. I want to pull the excess HD audio cable out, try and tighten that up, and again put our USB 3 in. Carefully, there we go. Super. Let's tidy up these cables here. Looking good. And I'm going to take one more power tie, have it ready and handy, leave that there. it's starting to get a little bit trickier. So the next step is the peripherals. So we've got 3 of these to deal with. We've got the graphics card power, the SATA power, and lastly the ATX power, the motherboard power. It is a little bit of a shame that this cable here is so long, because again, I don't know where I'm going to put it, and yeah, it's tricky. It's got 4 connectors on it. I don't really need 4 connectors, but that's what you get for changing the power supply to a higher wattage one. Of course, they don't know what you're going to be connecting this to, so you are kind of stuck with their additional connections. So that's that. Our graphics card power. So let's just grab our graphics card, and you'll want to be using. Basically, it's a PCIe Type 4. Oh. Let me just show you the 2 heads so you can identify it easily. So that's it there, and you can identify it by this one here having 3 with the additional 2 if needed, and this piece here, the Type 4, which connects into the power supply. So opening up this and just checking that it'll work with our 1080, and the only reason why I'm doing this is because on most graphics cards that are this size, you have more power. This, with the reduction of power in the GTX 1080, which is awesome by the way, we only have 1, and as you can see carefully here, these are all a little slightly different shape to make sure you're not connecting the wrong cable. So I'm just going to do a quick check, and out of the box I know that this is going to work, but I just want to show you guys, and maybe you want to do this as well, because it's terrible if you connect everything up and then attach the power only to realize you've used the wrong power cable. So the first 3 will slot in here like so, and then the last 2 also. But the thing is, you should do the last 2 first, like that, because you see they have a little connection piece, and the 3 pin one kind of sits over it and like Lego clicks in nicely. So there we are with our graphics power. So now before I connect the graphics power, we will want to just do a little bit of cable management. So this is where this guy comes in, and again, connect everything loosely. So let's just make a little bend, little hook like so, so that you can kind of hook it through and it doesn't come out through the bottom of the case. And into the teeth, there we are. Cool. Alright, so now the goal here is to keep all of this lower than this part here, because this is where your graphics card is going to rest. And since the last and remaining cable is going to be situated mainly in this area, I think now we can start to tighten up our cables a bit. So that's the power tight. little bit of the USB, the power and the SATA, and then lastly the lot of them. Excellent. Okay, that looks good. Our fan's in, everything's working. Now I'm going to put in the extender for the graphics card. Oops, wrong spot. Here we are. That's in tight and it's secure. Cool. Now let me just grab a scissors so I can tighten up the excess cable tie cable. Okay, so keeping everything nice and neat. Of course, I shouldn't need to say this, but be careful you don't cut any cables that you shouldn't be cutting. Just the ends of the cable ties. Okay, that's all good. Now let us do the cables around our fans. This one is tight for sure. I might need to use a little bit of force to pull that up. Super. And carefully chopping this one without damaging anything. Okay, everything's routed well, very well. Everything's underneath where the the graphics card goes. So I suppose the next step now would be to situate the graphics card support. And the best way to do that is just to loosely put in your graphics card. You know what I forgot? I forgot the graphics card power cable, but it's not the end of the world. So now, the graphics card. Okay, I don't know how to explain this on camera, but when you're putting it into this particular case, see the way I have it lined up here? Like so. You need to tilt it in a little bit and then tilt it that way to get it through the two hooks at the top and then clip it in. And the reason why you do that is because it's a little bit tricky to get it to fit through these two little pieces here. So let's go ahead and do that now. So, oh yeah, well I need to put my graphics card support back, of course. And back. Everything's in place, super. And clip. Okay, so graphics card's in. And now what we must do is we must tighten this piece. The really nice thing about this, even though I have been complaining about it obstructing the fan, which my points there are very valid, is the fact that it's slanted fits really nicely with the slant on the GTX 1080. So that was cleverly designed. So I'm just going to push that in tight, and I'm even going to elevate it just a little tiny bit so that it's just slightly above the fan, and holding it in place like this, I'm going to tighten the screws at the back. I just need to put my screwdriver head in, and away we go. Tight and tight, and this one, give it a good tighten, because the thing is, now it supports the card this way, and it supports the card in a stand-up position because it holds it underneath. You also get, with the Node, this little piece here, and that is just for sitting it on top of your graphics card somewhere to basically have a bit of vibration or noise cancellation from the top of the case. So I need to remember to pop that in. Let's now figure out what we're going to do with our power cable. So I think a good way, we might just be able to slide it underneath. You know, that just might work. So let's just pop her back out again. And let's get that prepped and ready. Keep the cable flat if I can. I'm trying not to. You see, that USB keeps popping out. It's an awful shame those USB 3 connections don't have locks on them. And putting our card in again. Yeah, of course, it's a little bit more difficult to do now that I've already tightened it. Let's just pinch and twist, and she's in properly again. She's sitting good. It's not obstructing the fan. And can I get it in? Oh, it's going to be tight. But sure enough, she slots in very nicely. Cool. And everything's still connected good. So after all, not cable tying the graphics card power cable worked out to our advantage. Now what I am going to do is I'm going to cut a little tiny piece of this, or let's see, do we have anything that we could use? Because I know that the, like here you can see the Node202 comes with rubber grommets, these pieces here that have sticky pieces on them. I might just use a little bit of the excess stickiness and put it between the hard drive cage and the graphics card, just so that it's not bashing off the hard drive cage and ticking away, just to kind of give it a little bit more noise suppression. So let's go ahead and do that. So what I've done here now is I've just cut this little piece here, and I'm going to sit it down here like that. Very good indeed. I'm happy with that. That's pretty good. Yes indeed. Cool. Alright. And yeah, what's left? Left is the power cable. Our motherboard did come with a thermal heat sensor, which I'm just going to dig up now. So let's take a look again at our headers and see where we can put this thermal. Where does the thermal piece go? So I do see a few pins. They're not very clearly marked. I did notice this, however. This is kind of nice actually. I completely forgot about it, and I'm almost sorry I did, because if I just pull my IOs out, this here plugs nicely in like that, and this makes connecting the IO headers much easier. So power software goes like this, power light, power LED, that's the one that we want. So plus being red, and there we go. So that makes life a little easier. And then let me just quickly take a look at the manual to confirm the point where we can plug in our thermal. Normally I wouldn't be too worried about heat sensors, because there is lots of software and whatnot that you can use to gauge heat. But because we're in such a small case, I'm thinking the more the merrier. And due to the separator that we have here, we've got the heat of the graphics card, which is going to be well cooled. But I'm not 100% sure about in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just run this sensor nicely around the components on the board. And I'm just going to leave you just beside the processor so we can get a good idea of the heat in the case. So that's that. Checking our USB 3, and then our power connections are all in tight and clipped in. So I suppose the last job is to connect our motherboard power, and that's going to be fun. Okay, so after a quick visual check, let me just get this all close to you again. I found out what the issue was. I completely forgot to connect the CPU power, this cable here. There is an additional power connector right here, and for some reason I just completely overlooked it. Silly me. Problem solved, and now as you can see we are good to go. Super. And now for the cables. Whew. Yes, not so much space. And I really don't like pushing cables too much. And also the problem is that because of this processor, or sorry, not processor, power supply, all the cables tend to be up, so I need to figure out a way to bend them all down. So what I'm going to try and do essentially is, see the way that they're all kind of folding up this way? I'm going to try and have them folding underneath instead. This is going to take me a little bit of time, so I am going to pause you again and I will re-record the finished product. Hello and welcome back everyone. So all the cable management and tidying up has been done, and you should be able to all get a fairly good look there. Everything's cable tied up. I used one of those little, like I think they're called twisties, a nice big one here, just to stop the USB 3 cable from continuously popping out. That was a little bit annoying, to be honest. So that's sorted that problem out. The hard drive, sorry, not the hard drive, the motherboard power cable and the connection to the PSU was definitely challenging. However, I have to say everything seems to have worked out quite well. But I just wanted to give you a look at the final hardware build. So there it is there. And everything in its right place. And yeah, everything's connected. So, right, let's do it. Okay, I think that's it. Little bit tricky. It feels like it's potentially going to break when you do that, but just, you know, slowly and carefully is the trick. And now we have a nice flush finish with our bottom on. I'm going to pause and just do one more visual inspection before I put the top on. So yes, hold on. Okay, so last check done. Plastic removed from the basically the heat sinks and the logos and stuff, the stuff that's supposed to look good. So let us get the last part of the hardware puzzle. Excellent. So finally we can get rid of our mat. We can get a nice look. And that is our build. So now the next part of the fun is going to be basically the software. We're going to put in 8.1, which is what was requested, and do a couple of gaming tests and benchmarks. So there you have it, the Fractal Design Node202 ITX build in all of its glory. Thank you all very much for watching, and yes, I might post up some benchmarks, I might not, it depends on if I have the time. I am a bit tight with a lot more builds to do, so until next time, take care, and if you have any questions, please do let me know. You can send me an email address here at asuscript@gmail.com. Take care, bye bye.